Do you know why you're not a Christian? If I asked you that question, chances are you'd give one of a few common answers. You might say, there's no proof that any God exists. Or you'd name a different religion. Some say, I believe in God, just not Jesus. And others say, I believe in God and Jesus, I just haven't decided yet. Those answers sound very different. But what if I told you they all share one thing in common? Stick with me, because by the end of this video, I'm going to respond to each one. Before we take them one by one, we need to clear something up. This video is not about attacking people. It's not about guilt, fear, or church culture. This is about how beliefs are formed. Because whether you identify as Christian, atheist, spiritual, or undecided, you're already operating from faith. The real issue isn't whether you have faith. It's what your faith is grounded in. Comment below why you are or are not a Christian. I try to respond to each comment. That's why this is faith versus faith. Now let's start with the most common answer. This is probably the most popular reason. I'm not a Christian because there's no proof God exists. But here's the first problem. That statement assumes a definition of proof. Proof according to what standard? Scientific proof? Mathematical proof? Historical proof? Science doesn't prove why anything exists. It explains how things behave once they exist. Math proves relationships between abstract quantities. History deals in inference, not laboratory repetition. So when someone says there's no proof, what they usually mean is there's no proof by the method I trust most. That's not neutrality. That's faith in a method. Because believing that reality is explainable only through one tool is not a scientific conclusion, it's a philosophical one. So the question isn't whether God lacks evidence. The question is whether you've restricted what counts as evidence. You cannot check blood pressure with a measuring tape, any more than you can prove the supernatural using a method developed to explain natural phenomena. Some people say, I'm not a Christian because I belong to a different religion. That's honest, but it raises an important question. Did you choose that religion, or were you born into it? Most religious identities worldwide are shaped by geography, family, and culture, not by independent investigation. That doesn't automatically make a belief false because it's inherited. The same is true with Christianity. But it does mean your faith didn't originate from neutrality. Every religion makes truth claims about reality, morality, and meaning. So this isn't Christianity versus nothing. It's Christianity versus another faith system. Different answers, but the same human need to explain existence, purpose, and value. Again, faith versus faith. This one is very common. Some people say, I'm not a Christian because Jesus never existed. That sounds like a historical claim. But here's the problem. Jesus of Nazareth is one of the best attested figures of the ancient world. And no, I'm not talking about the Bible yet. Let's start with hostile and non-Christian sources. The historian Tacitus, writing around AD 116, records that Jesus, called Christus, was executed under Pontius Pilate during the reign of Tiberius Caesar. Tacitus hated Christians. He had no reason to help them. Yet he confirms Jesus existed. He was executed, and his followers were widespread shortly afterward. Then there's Josephus, a Jewish historian writing in the 1st century. Josephus refers to Jesus twice, once describing him as a wise teacher who was crucified, and again mentioning James as the brother of Jesus who was called Christ. Josephus was not a Christian. In fact, he remained Jewish. Then there's Pliny the Younger, who wrote to the Roman Emperor Trajan describing Christians worshiping Christ as a god, and Lucian of Samosata, who mocked Christians for following a crucified man and living by his teachings. These sources don't agree on theology, they don't agree on interpretation, but they agree on one thing. Jesus existed, he was executed, and people believed he rose. So, denying Jesus existed at all doesn't put you in disagreement with Christians. It puts you at odds with mainstream historical scholarship. What's really happening here is this. If miracles are ruled out from the beginning,
then any historical figure associated with miracles must be dismissed. What's really happening is avoidance of ultimate accountability. So again, this isn't evidence versus faith. This answer sounds humble. I believe in God and Jesus, I just haven't made the decision yet. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Not deciding is a decision, because belief isn't just intellectual agreement, it's trust. If something is true, delaying commitment isn't neutrality, it's prioritizing something else. Often what's holding people back isn't evidence, it's cost, and as mentioned before, accountability. Christianity doesn't merely ask for belief, it asks for surrender, it asks for sacrifice, and that's where many people pause. Here's what all four answers have in common. None of them reject faith. They reject a specific version of Christianity, often one that was poorly explained, emotionally weaponized, culturally inherited, or never meant to be questioned. But a faith that collapses under scrutiny isn't authentic faith. Christianity at its core invites examination. It doesn't say, don't think. It says, test all spirits, meaning examine everything. Study to show yourself approved of God, meaning seek God's approval, not man's. So maybe you're not a Christian, not because you found the truth somewhere else, but because you're unwilling to sacrifice some pleasure for the greater good, or are reluctant to even try to live up to the higher moral standards it requires. So let's wrap this up. The ultimate reasons you're not a Christian could be because you're looking for proof of a supernatural being from a method designed only to investigate natural phenomena. Your faith is in science. Or maybe it's because you're not aware of all the overwhelming evidence of Jesus' existence. Or you've placed your faith in the religion your parents told you to without questioning the validity of its claims. Whatever your reason are, you can't deny the aspect of faith. The real question isn't, do I have faith? It's, which faith best explains reality? And what happens to me if the object of my faith isn't worthy? Those are questions worth wrestling with.